Hi, this is Roland. I want to read you a translation from the Aramaic of what Jesus said in the Beatitudes, what he talked about, and I want to see if I can say something about it to you. When Jesus saw the crowds, he ascended the mount. And when he was seated, his disciples drew near to him. He began speaking and teaching them, saying, "A heavenly attitude is theirs, those whose home is in the Spirit. Theirs is a heavenly state." Is that not beautiful? So, you're used to the translation, "Blessed are," for the beginning of these verses. Here, the verses begin in this translation from the Aramaic. A heavenly attitude is theirs. A heavenly attitude, Jesus said. So let's talk about the difference between a heavenly attitude and a not heavenly attitude, or the heavenly state. What did he call it? He called it the heavenly state. Let's see if I can talk a little bit about what I was writing earlier today. I was writing that the reason for everything that's wrong with us is because we are subject to wrong authorities. And then I explained it. First of all, we're born subject to wrong authorities. It's like being born in communist China or North Korea. If you're born in communist China or you're born in North Korea, then you're subject to those governments, are you? If you're born in the United States, you're subject to the United States government. Well, we're born into a fallen world with wrong authorities, beginning with parents. Okay? Imperfect parents, angry parents, resentful parents. See, parents who are in denial, parents without understanding, parents who do not have the heavenly state that Christ talked about. Okay? So we'll give parents the benefit of the doubt. Let's say you had decent parents. Okay? Of course, if your parents were drug addicts and violent and cruel and witchy and like that, then that's bad. If your parents were fighting and screaming and arguing, or if your parents were selfish and there was a divorce, well, that's bad. But let's say you had relatively decent parents. Even so, something was still missing. There was something missing in father. Undoubtedly, your mom resented your dad. There was unfinished business somehow from the past that they brought with them into the marriage. There were undercurrents of resentment and judgment and so on. And you picked up on that as a little child. So they were imperfect. Imperfect. And then you went out into the world, and what were you subject to? Well, you were subject. So what did they do? They transferred. So they themselves were imperfect. Perhaps angry. Perhaps they yelled at you, or pressured you to be good. Pressured you to study more. See. So they were sort of tyrants, weren't they? They were dictators to a certain extent. Maybe not so bad, but they were. Between timeouts and yelling and screaming, and between punishing you and bribing you and threatening you and comparing you, and either that or they weren't there for you. They were busy with their texting and with their other things, and so what did they do then? They were impatient with you. Undoubtedly, they were the first ones to upset you. Your mom upset you by pressuring you, yelling at you, being angry at you. And then your dad was not there. He let things happen, or he too was angry. So they were improper authorities that you were subject to. And what did they do? They emotionalized you. Now there's the sign of the fallen state of mind. Okay? The heavenly state of mind is a state almost an emotion. It's an emotional state. Yes, you have a higher set of emotions: joy, awe, wonder, reverence, delight in discovery. Okay, but the emotions of fear, anger, rage, hurt feelings, all that stuff, being pressured, being anxious and nervous and pressured and having to perform. See, there's not any of that. So what happened then? You were emotionalized. You were angered. You were upset. You were hurt. You were made fearful, worried. See, that's the fallen state of. See, that is the response to a wrong authority. See? Wrong authority, child becomes upset. Wrong authority, child becomes angry. Wrong authority, the child feels pressured. Wrong authority, the child is anxious. Wrong authority, see? But then once that happens, once the child becomes angry, upset, hurt, afraid, nervous, anxious, worried, then the child needs some kind of comfort and reassurance, which it gets from the improper authorities. See? So already you have good guy, bad guy. You know, like in the movies where you have the criminal and one policeman comes in and is real mean and gives the criminal a hard time, and then the other policeman comes in and says, "Hey, you want a cigarette? Joe's having a bad day. Hey, I'll be your friend." See, good guy, bad guy, routine. So the parent yells and screams or makes you feel insecure or nervous or worried. The parent pressures you to perform, to be better. Don't make a mistake. See, don't say anything about Aunt's problem. See, pressure. Get better grades. Improper authority to which you are subject and then to which you begin to react. And then in your emptiness and pain of reacting and being upset, then you crave love. So then they give you love. They spoil you. They give you the wrong kind of, they're guilty for having upset you in the first place, so then they're too nice in the second place, that sort of thing. So there's that. And they don't have patience. That's another thing. Impatience. An impatient authority. The child reacts to the impatience. Begins to conform to the impatience. Begins to worry. What kind of a mood is mom in today? How about dad? What kind of a mood is he in? Child conforms. The child begins to talk and the parent becomes impatient. The child begins to stutter, maybe, because of the impatience. See? Or the child clams up and says nothing. Or the child starts to say the wrong things or make mistakes. Or maybe the child says the right thing, accidentally tells the truth, and gets slapped down for telling the truth. See? So the child becomes confused, worried, anxious, and then receives the phony love, false love out of guilt from these authorities. Well, they don't have any patience for the child, and so what do? And they don't have love. So then they farm the child out. They transfer their improper authority to other authorities. The rotten school system. Putting 20, 30, 40 kids the same age in a classroom, many of them from rotten homes. So there's what? There's chaos. There's more pressure. There's stealing. There's bullying. There's cruelty. There's tease. See? And teachers who are unaware and impatient, and pressure, academic pressure, grade pressure. It's a frightening environment. Or daycare. Same thing. Put in a room with out of control children. See, with an improper authority. So I could go down the list of all the other improper authorities that were handed over. But in the hypnotic state, see, so that's basic, that is then, so then that child then has a fallen state of mind, reactive. And the reaction spreads to everything. eventually. Everything, see, to the impatient authority, the improper authority, causes the first reaction. But then everything about that impatient authority, their voice, their tone of voice, the expression on their face, their irritability, their body language, the things that they say, their words, see, not to mention the scene itself, the room where the mean things were said and the frightening suggestions were made and so on. It spreads. See? So before long, the child is reacting to everything, grows to be a teenager and an adult, reacting to improper authorities. But once you respond to an improper authority, then the hypnosis starts. And then, after that, you basically walk around in a state of trance, a hypnotic trance, which is almost indistinguishable usually from a non-hypnotic state. The person just goes around and does things, but is ready to go in to lose awareness when an authority like the one that upset him in the first place comes along. So someone like your ranting and raving mom, or your suppressed angry dad, or someone like your impatient teacher, or someone like the bully, or someone like your older brother who was mean to you, or your older sister who was cruel, someone like any of those comes along, resembles them, and then you respond hypnotically. And things that represent them, impatient teachers, see, out of control classrooms. So then pretty soon, the teacher's desk, the whiteboard, the erasers, the sound of all the other kids in the room, the school bells, everything, every one of those things then is capable of lowering your awareness, lowering you into a hypnotic trance. See? And so if you were a little kid and you lost the keys and your mom screamed at you and blamed you, and then she made dire predictions, well, you're never going to amount to anything and you're just clumsy and stupid and all you do is make trouble, and those suggestions, see, those are also part of the environment. So then later on, if you can't find your keys, then what? Maybe you have a panic attack, or you become totally distraught because it's like the original situation. You fall into the state of mind you had when you lost your awareness the first time, when you became emotionalized and fell into the trance in the first time. Then when something else comes along like it, you fall into that fallen state of mind again. Then here comes someone like a teacher. Here comes someone like your older brother. See, there's an object like was in the classroom where you were upset and frightened. See, there are words that are like the words that were said to you when you became emotionalized and in a hypnotic state, and then people said, well, you're nothing but trouble and you're going to never amount to anything, and see? So there you are, and then you'll react just as you did the first time. See? So if you were a little child and your parent became angry and went like this, and then you flinched, your whole body stiffened up. See? Then later on, you encounter someone and they go like this, and then you're involuntarily, without even realizing it, your body will you'll stiffen up, your awareness will be lowered, and you'll react just as you did then. You'll become like a little kid again. I'll never forget when I was a boy, I think I was 10 years old. We went to Switzerland. Okay, that's where my mother was from. So we went to Switzerland. And we were in grandmother's house. See? My mother used to rant and rave and scream and yell and say vile, awful things, put-downs, when I was a little tiny child. But you know what? When I was in Switzerland, one time I was in the living room doing some drawing or something. I was just a little boy. And in the kitchen, I heard the voices. My grandmother was yelling and screaming and so forth at my mom, and my mom became like a little girl being berated. See? So then I saw that it was the same thing all over again. So now you understand something about the hypnotic trance.